Hey guys, it's Captain Forest here, and I'll be going over in today's video these both combatants to see who would win in a spicy inverse Marvel matchup. But anyway, this will be something a little bit different. I'm going to be going over Captain Marvel's AP, and I'm also going to be debunking the downplay on her AP as I go through this inverse fight. And once I have done so, I will break this fight down to ultimately show who would win more often than not in this inverse fight. Now before I start this video, make sure you leave a like, help me get those likes up, try and get me higher in those likes. I appreciate all the support that you guys show me. Make sure you comment down below, give me your feedback. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you like me, make sure you check out my other content. Also, huge shout out to the coffee shop gang, they make amazing content. Check out those links down in the comment section and also in the description. Shouts to Splash, shouts to everyone else, shouts to the HQ squad. They help me with my scripts, they help me with scans and scaling, so much appreciated to them. And also, if you guys would like to support me on a personal level, I've got my coffee link and my Patreon in the description, so please check those out. Starting off with the video, so we've all seen the fight of Carol versus Thor, right? There is a lot of context and scaling and reasons as to why she did well in her fight with Thor and why it made sense. Now I keep hearing from people, they say, oh, it's just an outlier, or well, Thor just holds back in character. Now that completely is complete rubbish. It doesn't disprove the scaling, and I'm going to go ahead and break this down in my video. So I'm going to have to talk about Wonder Man. So now in this scan I'll show you right on the screen, Wonder Man physically hurts Hercules. This same Hercules notes that Wonder Man's strength rivals that of the Thunder God. So right here, this gives us a clear indication of quantification of where Wonder Man in AP would be around. So he would be in the ballpark of Thor to some degree. Now, this statement is also backed up by feats from Wonder Man, as we've seen that Wonder Man on a couple occasions, he's been able to physically hurt Thor, even while Thor is suppressed, which doesn't matter in this context. As we all know, Hercules and Thor have gone at it consistently, and Thor even admits that Hercules is his equal. So this would further add on consistency and also add on more proof of the quantification for Wonder Man's AP. Now, this would all apply to Captain Marvel, because this same Carol was able to clap Wonder Man into next week. We've also seen Cosmic Ghost Rider one-shot Thor. This same Cosmic Ghost Rider gets pressed and overpowered by Carol. And we've seen a suppressed Thor get clapped up by some Sidorak golems, and Carol literally one-shots them. Carol also herself holds back in character too. And another thing to mention here is there is a feat where she was able to damage and send a weakened and damaged Thanos flying, which is very impressive. So she trashed on this damaged Thanos, which is still impressive because Thanos is just built different in AP. And even if you use the analogy of, oh, there's no quantification, we can't get a gauge on these characters who are weakened or they are holding back. Now, these characters are infinitely powerful, like very powerful, you know, high hyper plus outerversal arguments. So even if you minus, like, let's say you take infinity away from infinity, you are still left with infinity. So you're just left with a weaker degree of infinity. So this, however, is another application for quantification. So simply, Carol would just downscale to characters in that ballpark of AP. So all this consistency and scaling all comes together and would further back up and prove why Carol did well in her fight with that specific version of Thor and why she took victory. By the way, I am not mentioning these feats to downplay Thor at all. I am bringing these feats up to prove the sheer power that Captain Marvel possesses. So overall, it doesn't matter how you slice this fight or how you slice all her interactions with her fights with characters. Captain Marvel is in the respective ballpark a high hyperversal plus. And one last showing I will go over as well, just to solidify the Hercules thing. This same Captain Marvel was able to bully and hurt Hercules and bombard him with photon blasts. So this is just adds on more consistency. So there's no running around it. There's no calling, oh, outliers, or oh, holding back, because I've already debunked and proved and given quantification and given the levels of where these characters scale, regardless of how you slice it, whether they're holding back or whether they're going full power. And just because you dislike a character, because I know there are people that just don't like Captain Marvel because of her political stance in things, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you dislike a character, their feats will not be ignored. Superman is a good example of this. You can't just ignore feats based off your distaste for a character. For example, I know people don't like Superman because of his AP, his power, or the fact that he's just a protected character because of his story or his personality, or how his in-character development works, or how he's portrayed in a subjective manner. But this, as mentioned, this doesn't invalidate his feats or his showings, especially his World Forger feat, which is a high ultraversal feat that is very impressive for Superman. So anyway, now that I've got that out of the way, let's talk about who I think would win more often than not. Now, if we're going up the ladder and we're going to start like with Unworthy Thor, if we're just talking about Unworthy Thor, I would say with confidence that Carol should honestly take victory pretty easily against this version of Thor. This version of Thor, unfortunately, is weaker than his worthy self, and he's lost to the likes of Amadeus Cho. And this same Thor even notes that he wasn't holding back on Cho, and he was going to actually try and kill Cho, and he still lost. Whilst we see Carol, she was able to do pretty well against Cho. Plus, with her current scaling, she'd naturally be above that version of Thor pretty easily. Now, moving on to standard King Thor. Now, this fight's pretty interesting. I think it's quite close, but ultimately, I do have to lean a little more so with King Thor. King Thor has demonstrated better showings, especially with his fight against Joe Fixit, which a lot of the other Avengers were unable to do anything to this version of Hulk, except for like Black Panther with his gear, and King Thor. In character, I think it would go back and forth, but ultimately, once Thor invokes his warrior's madness and starts to turn up the juice and starts to fight even more serious, it's gonna start becoming a problem for Carol. So, in my opinion, I do give this fight to King Thor with a little more, so with some difficulty. I do think it's not a stomp per se. I think it's definitely competitive. Now, if we're talking lastly, like if we're just talking about Cosmic King Thor, like current King Thor, he would just one shot. Like, I don't really see what Carol can do. Like, this version of Thor is way above like Cosmic Ghost Rider. This version of Thor has better feats, being able to hurt the Black Winter with his God Blast, and the Black Winter was pretty much threatened the 8th Cosmos and negged the 6th. And we've also seen that this version of Thor was able to pretty much no diff this well-fed Galactus. Like, this Galactus even notes that he was like he felt the most powerful than ever, which makes it even more impressive. And this version of Thor also gets like an amp when he became a herald, so he gets an amp on top of his other amps as well, with the Odin amp, especially with his own amp too. So, and this version of Thor, I also noticed that he's very haxy, so he will probably even just revoke Carol's powers or absorb her powers. Thor was able to revoke and drain Galactus of all his powers, literally just revoked it and took it from him. So he could apply some of these nasty hexes against Captain Marvel, and the energy absorption will not matter. I don't think she'll be able to even absorb this level of power. It's just way too much. The AP is just too huge. So ultimately, I have to give this fight to Thor, and narratively, I think like this version of Thor is even just stronger than Carol currently, until we see some better feats for Carol that would put her up to Cosmic King Thor's level. So ultimately, I have to give this fight to Thor. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave your thoughts down in the comment section, and also subscribe if you're new to my channel. But anyway, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.